Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Mohawk Valley Sportswatch podcast this morning here on the Rock Pile. Seems like just yesterday, I was just on here this past Wednesday with the Rock Pile. Got a chance to talk to former Alabama quarterback Greg McElroy. Today, we go back to the local sports. We'll kick it off here in just a few minutes with Notre Dame girls head coach John Snyder. He's calling us from the bus, so this is awesome. We're going to get Coach right out of the gate here. As they travel down to play Chenango Forks. That'll be a good game here this morning for Notre Dame girls, see if they can keep things rolling. And then at about 9:30, we'll talk to Clinton boys head basketball coach Mike Hayduk. And then at 10 o'clock, we'll finish things off with Coach Gary Heenan of Utica University, who they will play home next Saturday in the NCAA tournament. They will play Plymouth State, who beat Cortland State last night. So I'm really excited to talk some more local sports here this morning. Just waiting for the stat man to jump on. We'll bring him on in just a second. Pags is at hockey today. Coach Medicis, I think, is at basketball this morning. So let's see. I think we got the stat man on. Let me see if I can bring old stat man on with me. There's the man, the myth, the legend.
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on, stat man?
Nothing. I just pulled in. I just got back from church.
Oh, nice. What's going on this week? Haven't talked to you much.
Let's see. We had a training for the officers out in Liverpool yesterday that I went to in preparation for being the new ER coming in April. So that was fun, interesting, insightful.
Yeah, for sure. So we got as you would echo here, Statman, we are guest heavy today. Mm-hmm. What's really cool is I don't know if you remember when we were over on the radio station when Coach 80 was coaching at New York Mills. We got them coming off the bus in the Final Four. Coach 80 was doing the interview. We're going to talk to Coach Snyder, the Notre Dame girls coach, as he's on the bus traveling to play Chenango Forks here in just a little bit. So I'm excited to talk to the coach. You got conference basketball tournaments starting next week. Some of the small non-power fives started this week. Syracuse, I saw, will get the winner of, was it NC State? I think I saw the bracket for the ACC came out. I think they get the winner of the 7-10 game, who I think was NC State and somebody. You think they got to win that one to get in?
I would say so. I mean, they did get to 20 wins, but perennially it's been if they've been able to get to 20, but they've also had to win a game or two in the ACC tournament. I don't see that being that much different this year. I think that's probably going to have to hold true as well if they want to get a big dance bid.
Yeah, I actually think they're in. I think if they,
I hope so. Believe me, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're in, but I think it's a good season for Coach Autry. The win over 20
first
games,
year winning 20 games.
Yeah, I think it's a good season for him. The one thing I'll say is I feel like we kind of go back and forth on this, but I think the ACC was down this year. I don't think the top half was as good as nearly as it's been, over the years. I think it's probably a 4 or 5 team league this year that gets into the tournament. But I think North Carolina's can be really scary in the NCAA tournament. Duke's Duke, but North Carolina last night, man, they led that game wire to wire against Duke. That's 2 wins against Duke this year.
Wow. Yeah.
So I kind of have a feeling, and when the brackets come out, I think it's going to be Connecticut and everybody else. I think Connecticut's really good. I think Houston's really good after what they did to Kansas yesterday. They smacked Kansas. They beat Kansas by 30 yesterday. And then I think Kentucky's playing really well. Tennessee, is always playing. I think they're playing well. Always a tough out in the tournament. So I think it'll be a good tournament. I just think the job that Danny Hurley's done this year after losing, 2 or 3 guys from last year's national championship team to have them right back here again. My question is going to be, Purdue, can Matt Painter's team make enough shots? Zach Edey, the big guy, is going to get you the 25-10 or the 25-20. But can those guards knock down enough shots for 5-6 games in a row, to get into, the Final Four? And then my Zags are playing good right now. The Zags are playing probably their best basketball the last month. How scary is this? The Zags have been a 1 or a 2 seed for the last, I don't know, 15 years. Mark Few's been to the NCAA tournament for 20-something consecutive. I think he's been to they were saying the Sweet 16 for, I don't know, 10, 15 years. They were on the bubble.
Wow.
The last 2-3 weeks, they were on the bubble till they knocked off. They beat San Francisco on the road. They smacked St. Mary's on the road. So now they have them in. But they could be a 7, 8, or a 9 seed.
Wow.
How would you like to draw the Zags in the 7-10 game or the 8-9 game? And then if you're a 1 seed, have to play Gonzaga the following week. I think that's a scary seed for the Zags because I think they're playing really good right now.
That could make their easiest run to the Final Four yet.
Well, I think for the Zags, I mean, the thing with them is I think they're playing really good right now. Non-conference schedule. I mean, it was a tough non-conference schedule for them.
As always.
But, the thing is, when Gonzaga loses 2 or 3 games, here's the thing that irks me. BYU was in the West Coast Conference. BYU beat Kansas this year. BYU is a top 25 team in the Big 12. So for anybody that says the Zags can't win in another conference, BYU's doing it in the Big 12, which is brutal this year.
Yeah.
So I still think that comes at some point. I'd still like to see them somewhere else. If they go 25-8 instead of 30-2, playing a tougher schedule, I'm good with that. But I think March Madness is going to be fun again. We'll see. We'll see who the 1 seeds are. Carolina's probably a 2. Houston's probably on the 1 line. So it should be a fun tournament for sure. I'm just going to read through, Statman. I just want to read through some of the top 25 games before we jump into Coach Snyder here. So, as I said, Houston smacked Kansas last night, 76-46. UConn 74-60 over Providence. Kentucky 85-81. And there's another team, too. Kentucky's playing really – if Kentucky can defend, I think they can make a deep run in the NCAA tournament as well. USC upset Arizona. Tommy Lloyd still got a really good team who I think can make a run as well. They beat Arizona 78-65. Another upset at home, Kansas State on senior night. They beat Iowa State 65-58. North Carolina led basically wire to wire last night against the Dukies. They beat Duke at Duke 84-79. Shaka's Marquette, I think they can make a deep run too. They beat Xavier 86-80. Creighton 69-67 over Villanova. I think that really ends the bubble for Villanova unless they make a run in that Big East tournament. Texas Tech upset Baylor 78-68. Auburn beat Georgia 92-78. Alabama in overtime beat Arkansas 92-88. South Carolina is going to be a scary team too out of the SEC. In overtime, they beat Mississippi State. And as I just said, Statman, BYU 85-71 over Oklahoma State. Wow. And then Utah State in the Mountain West beat New Mexico 87-85. Many think that New Mexico needed that game last night as they were on the bubble as well. So we're going to see if we can get Coach Snyder. This is awesome, man. He's on the bus.
Wow.
So let's see if we can roll him in here. Coach, this is awesome, man. You're on the bus.
Yeah, good morning. We're traveling. Hopefully
How are you?
Doing well.
I can hear you good, Coach. I appreciate it. First, congratulations on a great season.
Thank you very much. It's been special. The girls have just done everything we've asked, put in a lot of effort, and it's been a nice run.
Coach, you guys have played some really good basketball. Your 2 losses this year were to Bishop Ludden, who, let's just say they were an Indian River, right? I think those were the losses that you had this year, and both great teams.
Yeah, absolutely. We had high hopes for this season, and we scheduled in a difficult fashion. We really played anyone and everyone that would be willing to play us, and we went on the road and played some tough teams, and we had a great year. The losses that we had, I think, only helped us to get where we are.
And, Coach, I would say talk a little bit about that non-conference because you guys rolled through the TVL champs this year and not taking anything away from the TVL because I think it's good basketball. But how much did that non-conference get you ready for these type of games?
Yeah, I mean, the Tri-Valley really is wonderful. I mean, there's a lot of great teams in the Tri-Valley, teams at all different levels. Being in Class B, most of the Tri-Valley really is A, Double A, and even some Triple A's. So a super challenge. But we went out to Amsterdam for a college showcase and played 2 great teams out there. Johnson City is actually playing after us later today. They were the Class A champs down in Section 4. We were fortunate enough to play well and beat them out at that Amsterdam tournament. And, Indian River won Class A in Section 3. And, Bishop Ludden was obviously one of the better teams in AAA all year long. And we wanted to be prepared. We wanted to see different styles, a lot of different teams that play different paces and different types of defenses. And we think all of that helped us to prepare to be where we are.
Coach, I know you mentioned that this team had a chance to be special. Did you see that in the offseason? Did you know this could be a special team that could make a deep run?
We've really been building for a few years. This is my third year, and we've been fortunate. I'm really blessed to have some talented young ladies. And, we felt like some of our better players have been young. I mean, Ella Trinkus is obviously the one that stands out to everyone. She's only a sophomore, but she was the league MVP as a freshman. So, when she's on your team, you're going to have a chance most nights. And then just some tremendous senior leadership that we really have, with her older sister, Maggie, and Vita Waters, Amani Jedwick, and Lauren Culpa. Unfortunately, Lauren was hurt and tore her ACL, but she is back playing with us now. And she just gave tremendous leadership even through her recovery, showing, how bad she wanted to get back to be part of this. I think inspired everyone else as well.
Yeah, and Coach, I know you talk about the sisters and they're special for you. Is there another player or two that stands out to you that's had a really good season that plays good minutes for you?
Well, those other two seniors that I mentioned, Vita Waters and Amani Jedwick, they fly under the radar. I mean, obviously the Trinkus girls are special, and so they garner a lot of attention. But we could not do what we do without those two seniors. In the game the other day against Marcellus, Vita came up with a huge block. We had a 3-point lead with a few seconds left. She gets a block on a 3 that they were taking to try and tie the game. Just they both do anything we ask them to do. On a lot of teams, they could probably score a lot more points, but they take what's given to them and just make us the success that we are.
And Coach, you guys are traveling to play Chenango Forks. They beat Cortland. I think did you guys play Cortland?
Cortland beat us in sectionals last year on their way to the sectional championship. We did not play them this year, but they're obviously a great team, and Chenango Forks is a special team as well.
How much do you know about Chenango Forks? What type of style are they?
They have one very talented player. They have a lot of good athletes. They play good defense. We've watched a lot of them. We watched them live last Sunday in their sectional championship game, and we've watched a lot of them on tape. They're a very good team with a very good leader, much like we have, and so it'll be an interesting matchup between two players. Their main player, Maggie Warpus, is a very similar, 6', 6'1" guard, very similar to Ella Trinkus, and so it should be an interesting matchup, and we'll see how it goes.
So, Coach, what do you guys have to do today to win?
We really talk about things that we do, that we manage every day, our energy and our attitude, and if we could take care of those things and play with the heart and hustle that we've played with all year, the results will take care of themselves. That's all we can do is control those controllables, and that effort and attitude is really what we try to control, and we play with pace, and we'll try and do that again.
Well, Coach, you're only the second coach I've had actually on the bus. I had Coach Mike 80 years ago in the state Final Four as he was walking off the bus. So I really, really appreciate it. We'll be following you girls. Keep this thing going. It's been a good ride for you.
We hope to. Yes, thanks a lot. We appreciate it.
You got it, Coach. Best of luck.
Have a great day.
You too. Yeah, Statman, I'm going on a limb to say I think he's the second coach that we've had either on the bus like that or actually coming off the bus. And I think we had Coach 80 as they were coming off the bus to play in the state final.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Which was years ago. So that's cool. They've had a really good run. That Notre Dame girls team is really good. They got the Trinkus sisters that are really good with some good role players there. They're going to play Chenango Forks. I know a little bit about Chenango Forks because we actually do the busing for them. So I've talked to the athletic director there on numerous occasions on some transportation stuff, but he said that Chenango Forks team can make a deep run too. They got a special player, so that should be a really good game today for them. So best of luck to the coach and the Notre Dame girls as they looked at. They've won. They're 22-3 right now, and their leading scorers, the Trinkus girls. As he mentioned, Ella's only a sophomore. They have Erin Trinkus, they have Maggie Trinkus, and from what I heard, There's even another one coming up next year. So Notre Dame girls hoops. Pags has got to get on the Notre
That's
Dame
where,
girls.
yeah,
wagon,
exactly.
man. He's got to get on the staff for the Notre Dame girls.
That's it. You got it.
But he's Mr. Hockey now. He's down. I think his son's got a hockey tournament somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's where Pags is this morning. Speaking of hockey, last week I got a chance to go, Statman, Lindsay and I and the kids. We went to the Utica University the NHC championship game, and the odd was rocking for that game. We were sitting like 4 rows from behind the bench. So we had really good seats. It was a great atmosphere. I hadn't been to a UC hockey game in a little while, and I'll tell you, the atmosphere for that game is better than the atmosphere for the Comets. We were at the Comets game last night. I had suite tickets, so we were in the Adirondack Bank suite last night for the Comets game. And Lindsay and I were just kind of looking at each other like, this game's kind of boring. But like the last 8 minutes of the hockey game last night, the Comets scored a couple goals and won. But those college games, man, they're fun. If you've never been, it's electric in that arena for one of those games.
Nice.
So we'll talk to Gary Heenan, always good radio when we talk to Coach Heenan. Excited to talk to him. And a little bit at 9:30, we'll talk to Mike Hayduk. He is the head men's basketball coach at Clinton. Clinton had a great run this year, 17-7. They got beaten in the sectional finals. Him and his dad are the coaches there, so be excited to talk to him. I told him if we do a college basketball show here, a selection show, and try to bring some high school coaches on and do a show here on the Rock Pile, he'll be one of the panel once I get it going. So Statman, what's the update on SU lacrosse?
Yesterday, I saw Syracuse go on the road to beat Johns Hopkins. That's their first victory over Hopkins in the past 3 tries. So that was good for them to get that win. In typical Syracuse fashion, they made it interesting towards the end. They had like a 2 or 3 goal lead late in the game, and they ended up winning by 1. They've been doing good. The games that they've lost this year, that's been to Maryland and to Army. They've been 1-goal losses, and both had goals called off for crease violations, which you could look at them either way, kind of questionable. But the rush calls are what they are. But they got a big win. Hopkins was ranked I think 5 or 7, I believe, depending on the poll. But they got a big win on the road yesterday, so they're doing really well. Will Mark is in goal for him. He's had a good season. He's made some spectacular saves for him. They have the face-offs are going well for him this year. They got better defensive play and seem to be doing better in the clearing game in the ground balls.
How excited are you for Syracuse football?
I'm very excited. I definitely want to go to the first game to see Fran Brown's debut.
Yeah, I think with this new playoff format, they're talking about let's go to 14
I saw that.
In a couple of years, and it's going to be, I think, the Big Ten. I said this a long time ago. The non-power fives are going to have their own tournament. And I think the Power Fives, I think the Big Ten, the SEC are going to be the giants of the college football world. I think you're going to see everybody split away from that. But I'll tell you what, the way the new format is going to be, you're going to have a team. Michigan can lose 5 games and still make it because of what they're talking about with the automatic playoff qualifiers. But I was looking at Syracuse's schedule, and I know we'll break down their schedule when we talk more college football. I think the schedule is easy. I think they got a legit shot to make a run to get into the ACC championship game, and I think they got a legit shot to get in the 12-team playoff. The schedule is easy.
Yeah, what is it? They don't,
and the recruits they're getting. I mean, I think they got a good shot.
What is it? Who aren't they playing this year? I can't remember. I don't have the schedule memorized, but it's like they don't play Florida State this year, right? Is that one of them? One of the bigger teams that they don't play?
I don't think they play. I don't think they play Florida State, and I don't think they play Clemson.
Wow, those were.
So I think they got a legit shot. I was just trying to pull up to see if I can get their schedule. I got it right here. So here's who they have. They open up against Ohio.
Yeah.
They should ruin Ohio. But Bobcat you never know.
Hookman University.
Then they play Georgia Tech. Yeah, they play Georgia Tech home, who Georgia Tech was better last year.
Yep.
I'll say that they were better, but I think that should be a winnable game. Stanford's been terrible. So I think that's a win. Holy Cross, they should win. So that's 4-0. UNLV, they're going to play down in Vegas. They should beat UNLV, but UNLV last year had a great season. Great offense, but I think that's a winnable game. Then they go play NC State.
The Wolfpack's
I don't know if NC State's going to be any good. Wolfpack's always tough. But you get NC State, Pittsburgh, Virginia Tech home. I think Virginia Tech's going to be really good next year. So that should be a tough game. Boston College stinks. But now you get the whole new coaching staff, right? Bill O'Brien is going to be on that staff. Cal's been terrible. UConn's been terrible. And they end against Miami.
Wow.
So I think that's a really, really good schedule for Syracuse.
And no Wake Forest this year from the sound of it, right?
Nope.
Wow.
Nope. I don't see it on there. I mean, I think that schedule's finalized.
Wow.
So no Wake this year.
I thought it looked like a 7 on the highlights I was watching last night. Hopkins was 2 going into that game yesterday. So Denver was number 1.
Yeah, Coach Medicis just put in the chat that John Hopkins was number 2 going into the game. So good win for sure. But I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see what Fran Brown and that team can do. The schedule's favorable. So I think they got a good shot to have a great season. I'm sure we'll break down the records. And then I'm excited to see, though, what Syracuse Hoops is going to do. Again, I think it's been a great year for Autry. To win over 20 games, finish in the top 5 of the ACC in his first year. I think it's a great season for Cuse.
Oh, yeah, very much so. Very much so.
And regardless if the ACC's down, I think it's a great season for him. On a non-Syracuse related note, Mike Hopkins won't be back as the coach for Washington. I don't think that was ever a good fit.
Not really.
I just think he wanted to get out of the shadow of Boeheim to get his first head coaching job. You think it hurt him? Did it hurt Hopkins?
No, I don't think so. I mean, granted, he didn't have the great amount of success that they were hoping for, but I mean, he was able to go out there and take over a program, and run it his way and do his own thing, like you say, outside of the shadow of Jim Boeheim. And so, I mean, what can you say? I mean, he did it. I mean, we'll see what's next for him, but I'm happy for him, though. He got the opportunity to show what he could do.
Yeah, no, I am too. The question will be he be back on the bench for Syracuse as an assistant coach? I don't know if they have any openings, for him, if they can put him in some type of role, but it'd be nice to see him come back. I think he'll coach again somewhere.
Sure. Absolutely.
I think he'll be a head coach somewhere. There's no doubt. But again, you take that chance. Like you look at GMAC and you say to yourself, are you going to sit on the bench as an assistant coach for the next 20 years? I know he's happy in Syracuse, loves it there. You would think Autry's going to be there for a while unless the program falls on bad terms. With him, I don't see it. But, at some point, like the Duke coaches, right? Like Chris Collins, Wojo, I mean, they left as an assistant under Coach K to take over their own programs. At some point, you got to make that decision.
Yeah, so I mean, it could also work the other way. I mean, Autry could, do really well in the next upcoming seasons and might get poached for a better job. Who knows? And then you could see GMAC not have to go to another program to get his opportunity.
I think those guys are Syracuse guys. I don't think Autry's going anywhere. I mean, unless they play really bad, Statman, and they stink, and they were to ever get rid of him, then I think my question would be for Syracuse fans is, you just had a Syracuse guy in Autry as the coach. Do you keep it in the family now and go with GMAC as the coach? Or do you say to yourself, the Syracuse experiment didn't work. Boeheim's gone. We tried Autry to keep it in-house, and now we'll go to outside the house. So I don't know. I'm not saying Autry's going down that path. I think he did a great job. but I think they would keep it in-house. But I think Hopkins made the decision and said, I've been in the shadows of Jim Boeheim. I thought I was going to be the coach in waiting, and then Boeheim decided he was going to stay, and he wanted to take a job and see what he could do. So I don't think it hurt him. I just wish he had more success. They didn't play too well the last couple of years down there in Washington. Harry the Husky, man, wasn't happy
he's
down there.
a lot more funneling vodka, but out of despair rather than through revelry. But yeah, it's like he'd had some good success there in the beginning, but then after that, it was like he was middle of the pack, lower end of the Pac-12. So yeah, that was disappointing to see that happen the way it did.
Yeah, I'm sad to see it, but I think he'll land on his feet, somewhere for sure. So we're just waiting. We should have him on any second. Clinton boys head basketball coach Mike Hayduk is set to join us here in just a few moments. What a run they had. Got all the way to the sectional finals, had a couple big wins in sectional play, pulled off a couple upsets. Great run. He had some great senior leadership there at Clinton this season. Had a chance to coach with his dad. So I'm excited to talk to Coach. Selection Sunday next week, conference tournament start. I'm excited for that. Statman, other than bowl season, is there a better time of the year in sports than March Madness?
Yeah, as far as times of the year, I would say that more exciting would be the Masters would be, but other than that, yeah, no. March Madness is definitely way up there as far as the what you mark your calendar for every year.
Yeah, my brother and I always talk when we see that commercial for the Masters.
Selection Sunday.
Yep. When you see the commercial for the Masters playing like in January for April, we say to ourselves, oh, spring's around the corner. Can't wait. Spring break, the nice weather, the Masters. That's my favorite one of all of them. I've always liked the Masters. I think it's because it just kicks it off, and you get excited for spring. You get excited for summer.
One of the most iconic courses, and one of the Masters
Yep.
where one of the majors that it doesn't probably. I think actually it's the only one that doesn't rotate to different sites every year. So I think that's another factor.
Yep. But I'm excited. Then you got baseball season, opening days around the corner. Statman, we'll see how your Mariners going to be.
Who knows? I mean, I always go into it figuring that they're gonna tank out, and then I get surprised sometimes, but I don't know. I haven't checked recently to see what their prospects are going to be. But I mean, they've always got the Angels out there. They've always got Texas to contend with. So I mean, it's never easy to play in that division for Seattle. It's never been.
Yeah, I'm excited. Baseball season around the corner. And then before you know it, I think we'll be talking college football. As I always say, don't wish the months away. Well, pretty soon we'll be talking college football. A lot of spring football started. Excited to see some of the changes. A lot of new coaches in the college world. I'm anxious to see Jim Harbaugh back in the NFL. With the Chargers. As a Giants fan, I'm interested to see what happens with Saquon Barkley, who many think is going to be out with the Giants. So a lot of big moves, but I'm excited. But I'm more excited for next week to see and hear one shining moment. I'm sure I'll be talking the C-Bus. We'll have to see if we're going to do the March Madness show, which I'm excited for. Hopefully we'll get the opportunity to do that. So we're just waiting on Coach Mike Hayduk, and then we'll end it here at the top of the hour. We'll talk to Utica University head coach Gary Heenan, who's always fun to talk. I think we got Coach on now. Let's see, Statman. Let me see how you can pull him on. Hey, Coach, what's happening this morning?
Hey, how you doing, Rocky?
I'm doing fantastic.
Good,
how are
good.
you?
Thanks for having me on.
No problem at all. So, Coach, you had some good senior leadership. You guys had a great run this year. Talk about some of the guys on the team and what that run was like.
Yeah, the run was really special. We had 6 seniors. We had 4 or 5 in the starting lineup every game. 2 we had made all conference. Tega Ego and Andre Jackson. Andre played 4 years. Tega was a 1,000-point scorer. It was just really remarkable being around them every day and just being able to coach them and watch them develop was truly special.
And coach, talk to us a little bit about the conference. It was a tough conference. I always say that conference you're in, top to bottom, even when you get to kind of the middle of the pack teams down at the bottom, it's still, I think, one of the tougher conferences in the league. In the
Yeah, I
area.
mean, it was a little tricky this year because we had in the league it was Sequoia, Sherburne, Mount Markham, but we had to play Division II once as well each game. Adirondack, Canastota, and then Herkimer and Little Falls, which made it a little daunting. I mean, Sequoia played extremely well this year too. We ended up having to play them in the first round of sectionals, but we split the league with them, and they made it hard on us. They swept the entire Division II, so we had to as well. And it kind of came down to one of the last games of the year at Herkimer. We were down 20 at Herkimer with I think it was like 5:30 to go. We ended up winning by 7. So and that was a lot of our seniors and like you said, a lot of that senior leadership, right? So that was truly something and truly special to see. That comeback was one of the crazier things I've ever seen. They hit everything in the first half and we hit everything in the second half. It was just one of those high school basketball games.
Yeah, and coach, talk to us too because you talked about some of those. You had to play up in against some of those teams, and I was just talking to Coach Snyder, who's on his way. It was pretty cool. He was on the bus ride to go play his regional game against Chenango
Yeah.
Forks. But sometimes that conference schedule, though, when you play a tough conference like that, gets you ready and prepares you for those, whether it's the sectional play and beyond, but some of those tougher games. Did that help you
It
guys?
does. I mean, we had we were kind of fortunate and unfortunate with the new seeding ranking this year, the BTM model they used, the Bradley Terry model. I think that was the name of it. But it was more of a statistical based seeding. And we were fortunately, I mean, the best team in the state who I think is going to win the state title is Marcellus, who we unfortunately lost to in the sectional final in Class B. But we were on the other side of the bracket, which was great. You never really look forward, but it kind of fired the kids up that, hey, we can win this side of the bracket and then go have to play Marcellus in the section title. So we had to go on the road to Lowville, which was an extremely fun and difficult place to play. They pressure you the entire game. They shoot the ball insanely well. And we went there and we were tied. I mean, we got up 14-0 in the first 2 minutes, and then we were tied with 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And again, our senior leadership, I call it the best 2 minute or the best 30 seconds in recent Clinton basketball history was Tega Ego. He tripped, turned the ball over on one end in a game where we were only up 4. He went down. They had a wide open layup. He tracked the kid down, kind of one of those classic LeBron James blocks you see where they bounce the ball off the backboard, right? He goes, bounces the ball off the backboard, falls down, gets back up, blocks another shot, and then ends up getting a steal and going down and getting an and one on the other end. And that was just the effort we kind of put in all season. And I think those games, at Herkimer really prepared us for that environment. Hey,
Can you hear me, Coach?
yep, I can hear you.
Can you hear me, Coach?
Yes, I can hear you.
I lost you. That's the first time in 10 years I've had technical.
No problem. No problem.
Sorry about that. I had some difficulties on my end. It wasn't you.
No worries.
So I think you're talking, Coach, and I apologize on the technical issues, but you're talking about the seconds that you had, and then I kind of went
Yeah.
blank on you. So if you want to just share that one again.
Yeah, no problem. So we had it was a crazy game up in Loudville, and their fans are the best. I mean, we had shoot around, we were there 90 minutes before the game, and an hour before the game, the gym's almost packed. It was just awesome atmosphere up there, and we got up 14-0, and it was an awesome start. But they came back; they're a great team. They came back, and we had it tied with 4 minutes to go. We were up 4 with about 2 minutes to go. And Tega Ego, our 1,000-point scorer, senior, trips, falls up with the ball, gets up, chase down block off the backboard. And the effort was insane. It was pretty close to a goaltending. They let the game go on. He falls. He gets back up, blocks another shot. And then they pull the ball out. They pass it back up to the top of to the point guard. He goes, steals the ball, and then gets an and one on the other end. And, your question was, hey, how did those games prepare you? And, people always say like, hey, the CSC isn't, it's not as good as, maybe a TVL or the Syracuse leagues, but it's a very physical and gritty league typically. And those plays, we saw all year, but we got to see it on that stage. And I think those games really, really made us, ready for it. I mean, I really challenged the kids when we were down 18 at Herkimer, that if we want to go win a league title and we want a home game in sectionals and who knows what from there, we really need to work hard and put that championship style effort into every play we have going forward. And we saw it from kind of there on, and it was amazing.
And Coach, you talked a little bit about the seniors and the senior leadership. You had a majority of your team, I think, were seniors and juniors, right?
Yeah, we were. We 6 of them. I would like to say probably 80% of our minutes were played by seniors this year. It was truly a special group, and it was an awesome group to be around all year. And Andre was around 4 years, Tega was around 3, but you work with them, you work with the when they're on the JV team and on the varsity team and whatnot, and so you feel like they're around for years. And Andre and Matt King both had older brothers on the team years ago when I first started coaching, so I feel like they've been around for years and years. So it's going to be tough to watch them go.
Now I got to ask you the question because I loved following you on social media. I love seeing the pictures and how excited you were and passionate you were. I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
But how special was it? Because you had your dad on the bench with you, right?
Yeah. So this is it's funny. I'm only 28 years old, gonna be 29 soon. But I've been doing this varsity coaching thing for 5 years now. It's going to be entering season 6 soon. But Dad's been with me every step of the way. It's really the coolest thing, having your dad as your assistant coach. I get a little, some will say fiery on the sidelines, but I will call it passionate. And I think Dad gets gets those deflections every once in a while. I'll turn around and just get super frustrated, and I'll just yell at him at something, and he's kind of that calming influence. And it's truly great. I mean, the guy who introduced me to the game, 25 years ago, is now the one that I get to bounce ideas off of and shoot text out at 1:30 in the morning of, hey, I can't believe the game did this, or hey, I want to do this tomorrow. And he's always there, kind of that calming influence of, no, maybe this isn't the best idea, or hey, what do you think about this here? And it truly is awesome. It's a little deeper than that too. I mean, I have my mom is our scorekeeper who's been doing it, hasn't missed a game in 5 years, feels like. And my wife is at almost every game capturing those pictures we see on social media. She takes close to about 300, 400 pictures a game. Wow. And it's awesome. I get to share them all with the kids and parents on a Google Drive, and just makes it a little bit bigger than, what it feels like sometimes.
Yeah, I always tell people that know me, I had the opportunity to, my dad was a longtime high school coach for football in the area for over 30-something years.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity to be an assistant for him when he was the head coach at Waterville. And then when I was the head coach at Secoit, he was my assistant. And, I always say we had some heated arguments at times, but one thing about coaching with my dad, and I'm sure it'd be the same for you, was whenever it was crunch time, for me, when it was like 4th and 1 or you needed
Yep.
that big call, I'm on the headset with dad and I'm like, all right, dad, what do we got? And he's like, well, you're the head coach. You make the call. So it was always tough love, but, there are moments that I'll never forget to have the opportunity with my dad by my side. And when I saw your pictures and stuff, it made me remind myself of me and my dad coaching. And there's special moments that don't last forever. So take advantage of it.
Thank you. Yeah, I will. Thank you. That that's an awesome story. I love it. It's the best, and it's awesome. We've got we had a really long season. I made the joke. We played in March and we had a game in November, so we had a game in 5 different months. And it's tough. My dad has a very important role at the Air Force Research Lab. So coaching for him is not easy. I'm a financial advisor. I'm not a teacher. With the schedule makes it a little easier. So both of us, it's tough with our jobs. So every once in a while we're the only ones that practice. There's a couple times my dad picked up practice this year for me, and it's truly special having that bond and relationship. And it's also your dad at the same time. But it's funny. We had such a long season, but I've been getting texts all week of when does the next season start? And my dad, made a point that we really need to get quicker, faster, and stronger as a team. So we're actually adding another RCH grad to our coaching staff very soon for a strength and conditioning coordinator. So we'll be talking about that soon, and it's
right,
very, very special to us. And it's awesome. I mean, it's when you have that group of kids, it makes coaching so much easier that it's March 10th and they want to get in the gym this week already, starting for next season.
And how about the community? Because the community rallied behind you guys, and Clinton's a tough town to coach in, because they're so passionate about sports. But how great was the community for you?
Yeah, I'll say this. I graduated in 2013 from Clinton. It's the best town in the world in my eyes. It was it was tough at the sectional final game because it was Liverpool and CNS right before us. Packed house, impossible to park, and we get about 10 minutes of warm-ups, and Barcelos has got a good crowd, and they had just played the girls in the other gym right before, so I knew a lot of them were coming over. And I look at my dad, I go, we're basically in Marcellus' school district, so it's going to be it's going to feel like a home environment for them. And they're doing starting lineups, and our fans had just trickled in, and it was amazing how many people were there. It was truly amazing how many people were there. We had someone in the community donated 200 T-shirts, so the fans, they had a special Clinton basketball section final T-shirts. We had our game even up in Lowville. It was the stands behind us were packed with Clinton fans. It's an hour and a half drive on a weeknight, or it was a Friday night, but still, it was after work, 6:00. We had an amazing fan base travel up there. We played Little Falls at Jamesville DeWitt. We easily had the majority fan base there. It was awesome. We had a doubleheader with the girls for our senior night. It was a game for Project Purple, which was in benefit of pancreatic cancer, who's had a few members of our community. And we had it felt like hundreds of fans there. We raised thousands of dollars. We had community support, supporting free T-shirts we handed out to get people in the crowd. It's like I said in some of my social media posts, it's a hockey town. It'll always be a hockey town. We're Hockeyville, USA. But for a few weeks, it was a basketball town, and I think that's just a testament to the community. We might be a hockey town, but really, it's a town about Clinton, and it's a town about the youth sports in Clinton. It doesn't matter. My sister is the assistant varsity coach for field hockey, and they won a section title this year, and it felt like 20 degrees and snowing out for the section title, but they were there. It was a packed house at VBS, and the town is so supportive, and it's so amazing. And they truly cherish these postseason runs that we have. And we haven't been to the section final since 2004. And the town was all a part of it, and wish we could have got across that finish line, but it was the memories will last forever of what we did.
Well, I think that Marcellus team's going to win a state championship.
They're
really good.
They're phenomenal. I told the boys, I peek into. It's great with this NFHS network and Huddle. You can kind of peek into a lot of games across the state, and I've peeked into some other section titles. And I told the kids, I go, there's a bunch out there that I truly think we could have been competitive in or won. And it's, we were very competitive with Marcellus. We were down 1 with midway through the third quarter, but one of the best Class B teams I've ever seen, in conjunction with a lot of the West Hill teams that have come out of this section and won state and federation titles. So I think they'll go out and win the state title. I mean, they deserve it. They're a great team. Very fortunate to play them, and it gave them a game. And, I think the scoreboard got, a little out of hand at the end of the game, just when when it stretches out like that in the fourth quarter. But for about, 2.5 quarters, it was really a game. And we held them to 4 points in the second quarter, which was their lowest quarter total all season. So it was awesome, and tough way to go out, but can't thank the Clinton community enough for being there.
Well, Coach, listen, I know I messaged you, but if we do the March Madness show and you want in, I'm going to try to get some coaches on and talk some March Madness. So
I'm always here. I love your podcast. I love the stuff you put on social media as well. I'm always here. Let me know, and can't wait to be on it. And the conference tournament week started already. I know we have 1 ticket punch with Morehead State out of the OVC, and going to look forward to more over the next week.
For sure. I'll definitely reach out to you, but I appreciate you taking the time this morning. Congrats on a great season.
Thank you so much, Rocky.
All right, man. We'll see you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, they had a really good run. Great to see him coaching with his dad. And they had a team of upperclassmen, of seniors and juniors. So congrats to him. We'll have him on again. We'll see if we can do the panel. Sam, I had technical difficulty. I lost you guys.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't believe that. I was like, what happened? All of a sudden, I was just standing off to the side for a second there, and the next thing you know, everything's just quiet. I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, I was just saying this morning, I shouldn't have jinxed myself, because on my way here, I said, been on the radio for about 9 years, and we had all these technical difficulties, and knock on wood, I haven't had any technical difficulties on the podcast, and boom, all of a sudden I'm talking, and everything went black. Yeah. I couldn't find you guys. Like, oh, no.
But, at least it didn't happen with your McElroy interview.
Did you get a chance to watch some of it?
I watched like the first 10, 15 minutes of it. I had to get going that night, but it was. He reminded me. It sounded like he has current Rome confused with like 1998 Rome, like back when RCH was still like a thing, and like and the city would shut down and everything. I'm surprised that he actually pulled any of that stuff out at all, that he actually took the time out to do some research on Rome. And I'm sure the Ryans fed him enough information to get him by.
Well, I was just going to tell you, I think that's where, he got most of his material was probably from Kevin Ryan and some of the Ryan boys. But I'll tell you what, out of all the interviews, and
what was that connection, by the way? What was the connection between the Ryans and him?
I think they met up at a wedding, and they've been good friends since. He's been to Rome on a few different occasions, which I think is really cool. But before the show started, I always talk to the guest. He jumped on about 10 minutes before we went live, and I was shooting a breeze with him. And we were talking about like his setup and all the shows he does on ESPN and his podcast. He does it from home. They don't go into studios. So we were talking about like the remote piece. But next thing you know, him and I look up at the clock and we said, we've already done 10 minutes of the show. We didn't even go live yet. He was just one of those guys where you felt like you were sitting at a bar, having a few pops, talking sports with one of the boys. He was so down to earth. He was so genuine and everything that he said. And I felt bad because, as I always say, like I have a script, I have notes and stuff on my screen that you guys can't see or where I want to go. So I started building for his show on Sunday, Sunday night, Monday night, too. So 3 nights I prepared for his show. And, one of the things we were talking about was his preparation. Like, how's he prepare for a game when he's doing it? How's he prepare for a podcast? And I thought it was really cool because he said, I go over my goal line situations. I go over my 3rd and long. I go over my short yardage package. Like, he breaks everything down to like when he played. Wow. For his notes and stuff. And I thought that was really cool. I thought it was really cool. He talked about Brent Musburger. He talked a lot about Nick Saban, what it was like playing for him. And I'm sitting here saying to myself, I got a guy on that played for the greatest college football coach of all time, won a national championship, has been on college football, game day. He's been, he was on ESPN when they were breaking down the playoffs. So we were talking a lot about that type of stuff. You would never know that he's as big as he is now.
Yeah.
And I didn't even get to half the notes I had for him because we just kept talking. And then it was, I don't know what time it was. I think we were a little over an hour. And I was like, I hate to keep you on. He's like, even before he came on live, he said, Rock, if you need to keep me 2 hours, I'll talk 2 hours.
Wow.
And I said, I
awesome.
can't do that to you.
Yeah.
But it was pretty cool. He was pretty cool. And probably one of my favorite shows to this date to talk to. And what was really cool is the next day, Kevin Ryan messaged me and he actually said that McElroy's producer of one of the podcasts was actually watching and listening live, which I thought was really cool. So yeah, really cool. Good opportunity. And I was trying to go back years ago when Pags had put together a guest list. And I probably should have did a better job of keeping it updated because if I add him to the list over the last 8 years, the guest list that I've talked to and we've talked to is unreal, the people that we've had on.
For sure.
And I just wish that I was keeping that list updated because I was just sitting back the other night saying, that's pretty cool. I just had McElroy on. So really cool. And I can't thank the Ryan boys enough for for making that happen. And it was pretty cool when he said, I heard if you were 6 foot or 6'1", 6'2", you would have been the next Tommy Frazier.
Yep. Yeah.
And I said, I wish I was. I don't know if I would have been Tommy Frazier as good as he was, but the whole offense of how it is now in college football. If it was like that years ago when I played, it might have been a lot different. But when I played, it was if you weren't 6'2", 6'3", and you weren't a drop back quarterback, you weren't being recruited by those big schools.
Right.
And we didn't even dive into he got drafted by the Jets. We talked a little bit about his NFL career, but I thought what was really cool, 6 days before he retired, the SEC network, which came calling and they were just getting started, called him and said, we're going to be starting this network. We'd love to have you join it. So kind of similar to Tom Brady, he had a broadcasting job before it even started, which was pretty cool. So we had a chance to talk a lot about the SEC network. And, of course, we talked about the national championship team, what it was like playing, against that Florida team with Tim Tebow. He played with Mark Ingram. He played with Trent Richardson. And he played some really good players. Yeah. But it was the big players that you would have thought he wanted to talk about. He talked a lot about the role players that played key roles on that national championship team, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
So he was a good one. And now, Statman, my sister and I are going to start a podcast called The Glory Days.
Yep.
So I'm excited to start that with her. I got to see what we're going to do for our first show. And then my wife is actually helping me. I don't know if you saw McElroy's background, but it was pretty cool, the background that he has. So I said to myself, I think what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to create a background at home down in my basement. And Lindsay's going to actually help me kind of build my own little studio down in the basement to be able to do a little bit more throughout the week. If it's a 15, 20-minute clip of something, talk some college football throughout the year, I think I'm going to start doing that because I thought it was really cool just to kind of see his setup. And I said, I come back to my office just because it's convenient and it's quiet here. I don't have my kids, running around screaming. I don't have the dog barking. But she's going to help me. So I'm going to have my own little home studio here pretty soon.
Nice.
So some more games today. I wish I was going to go watch Colgate Hoops plays today at home. They're in the semifinals of the Patriot League today. But we're going to go over to my mom and dad's for dinner, but they're home today. I'm hoping that Matt Langle and Colgate gets through the Patriot League again because they've had some close games in that Patriot League this year. The Patriot League's down a little bit, but they've had some tight games. I'd love to see Colgate punch their ticket again.
Oh, sure.
Those hoop games are pretty fun.
Right.
They get good crowds. It's a good atmosphere there. Of course, we always have Coach Langle on, and he was great radio too. But they'll play today. I think they play Bucknell today at home in the semifinals, and that's at 2:00. That'll be on CBS. They're an 11.5-point favorite today at home. So, it's too bad though, Statman, is they're always like that 15th seed in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Patriot League's always going to get 15, 16. But they've been a tough out the last 2 or 3 years. Colgate's been a tough out in the tourney.
Yeah, and they've beaten Syracuse. This year Syracuse beat them, but past couple of years they've had Syracuse as number 2.
Yeah, and they led Syracuse this year for most of the game.
They did.
Syracuse pulled away late in that second half, but Langle and that team led Syracuse most of the way. So it'll be a good Colgate team. We'll see if they can get by today and punch their ticket. Some conference games that are going today. The Colonial Athletic quarterfinals. Charleston will play Monmouth. The Big South final, you got UNC Asheville against Longwood. Michigan, Nebraska in the Big Ten. Now, the Power 5 conferences, Statman, will start next week.
Yep.
So Nebraska, Michigan, that's not an actual tournament game. I can't believe how bad Michigan is with Juwan Howard.
Yeah.
They're 8-22. They're 3-16 in the Big Ten. And I keep hearing that he's coming back for another season.
Wow.
I don't understand how they bring him back. And I'm a Juwan Howard guy. I like Juwan Howard. I'm not a big fan of how he's handled himself there over the last 2 years, with going after coaches and going after officials. Not a big fan of that. I love the John Beilein era. When Coach Beilein was there, it seemed like Michigan was on a whole different level. But I keep hearing that he's coming back. I'm just really surprised at that. And another thing I'm surprised at, sir, Statman, former Syracuse coach Mike Hart not coming back to Michigan.
Really? Wow.
Nope. Just came out yesterday that Mike Hart's not going to be back as the running back coach. Something happened. Something happened there because, Mike Hart is beloved in Michigan, the all-time leading rusher. Look at Michigan the last so many years. Running back right? With Blake Corum this past year, the Donovan Edwards. He was the last coach. They didn't fill that position. And they cited some personal reasons. Remember the one game, I think a couple years ago, he collapsed on the sidelines.
Oh, wow.
So I hope it's not health-related issues.
Yeah, really.
That Mike Hart, health-wise isn't doing that well. But I saw that yesterday, and I was like, if you give me Jim Harbaugh as a Michigan man, Mike Hart's a Michigan man.
Oh, for sure.
Was an interim head coach this past year when Harbaugh was out. Many thought that he might have been the next offensive coordinator. I don't know. Maybe he wasn't happy because he didn't get the job. Maybe he's not happy because he didn't get promoted to the OC. I don't know the story behind it, but I think a lot of Michigan fans can argue and say they're disappointed to see Mike Hart won't be on the sideline for the Maize and Blue next year.
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
Spent some time at Syracuse as an assistant. Then he went to Indiana as assistant. He was there with Kalen DeBoer before Jim Harbaugh brought him back home. Then I thought maybe Mike Hart goes to the Chargers with Jim Harbaugh, but I think Harbaugh filled his staff, with the Chargers. So we'll have to wait and see. More to come on that. Purdue's going to play Wisconsin today. Colgate, as I said, Statman, that game's on CBS. They'll play Bucknell today at 2:00. Indiana State out of the MVC final, they'll play Drake. Indiana State's a really good team. They'll be scary, but Drake's not bad either out of that MVC conference. And then Statman, how about the A-Sun? Stetson is in the finals.
Stetson.
And you know who they're going to play? Austin P.
Austin P.
Yep. You got Ohio State Rutgers today in the Big Ten. Towson's going to play UNC Wilmington. That's the Colonial Athletic. That's the other quarterfinal game. Temple out of the Americans going to play UTSA. UAB's on today against SMU. And the other Patriot League semifinal game, Lehigh in Boston. The winner of that will get the winner of Colgate. So that should be good as well. So I think we got Coach Gary Heenan on. Let me see how I can pull Coach on. Hey, Coach, how are you?
Hey, good morning, guys.
How are you this morning?
Just getting out of the gym here in the bowels of the rink.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love the podcast because I had one of the high school coaches on today who was actually on the bus ride to their regional game, and I got you over here like this. This is awesome. I love it.
Good stuff.
So, Coach, 17 in a row, you guys are playing some good hockey again. But I got to ask you, does the time off hurt you guys, or does it give you guys time to rest up?
Yeah, I mean, I think, history says it's hurt us. I think in the manual it says it helps you. Um, I think it's one of those things. You're going to be able to criticize it after the game if you lose, and if you win, you're going to say it was great for us. So we're changing things up. It's obviously a game that's escaped us the last few years, and um, I don't know. You think you can overthink those things. We've been practicing. We changed it up a little bit, and we'll get after it certainly this week. And we've got a really good opponent coming in, but we feel good. We've got one little health issue we're dealing with. No excuses there. It'll be a next man up mentality.
Yeah, Coach, I was actually behind your guys' bench for the Stevenson game, and it was such an awesome atmosphere. My wife had never been to one of your guys' games, and I said, "I'm telling you, when you go to this game, you're going to love the atmosphere." And she said, "This place was rocking. That odd was rocking for that game."
Yeah, it's you get into the playoffs. Certainly the Teddy Bear Toss, some of our home opening games, maybe Thanksgiving weekend a little bit. It's a special place. I mean, it really is. And when it gets to that atmosphere and the guys perform, and it's a little exciting down the stretch, goalie pull situations. The crowd gets behind us, and it's I'll repeat myself. It's a real special place. We don't take it for granted, and we're excited to create that atmosphere once more this weekend.
Coach, I think it's 17 in a row for you guys. You guys haven't lost, I think, back to early December against Oswego State. What's kind of changed? You guys have played really good hockey here down the stretch and playing good at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, we're still getting better every day. It's not a cliche. We're young. We're making mistakes. Each game we play, there's things we focus in on to hone our skills and our game and create an identity that we want. The lines haven't been intact all year. A couple certainly have found their way, but every guy in our roster's played 10 games. It's probably the most we've ever had in that situation. So every single guy is at the ready. Every guy's been a part of what we've done. I never imagined we'd be on a run like we have with this team, just being the turnover we had. And we're enjoying it. I mean, it's really a great group of personality. I think the last couple of years we've been just old as dirt, and the guys just kind of expected to be here, and you had to kick them once in a while out of sheer boredom, and they kind of knew the routines. We're all this group's just loving being in the rink, and in turn that's really enthused our staff with energy as well, and we're just kind of riding, having fun. I'd like to play the underdog role. I don't know if people buy into that, but we, I think we reiterate those things with our group that, hey, we are the youngest team, and we've got to be humble in our approach, and we've got to get after it. We're really not that good, and that seems to be working. So we'll keep that up. We've got a very good team coming in here, and we've got a week of work ahead of us. Nick and I are certainly preparing. We watched the game last night as a staff, and we'll break all that down. We've already broke down both teams, but we'll dig into last night's game on video today and have it ready for the guys tomorrow.
Well, Coach, I know you know them well, and you've been in this NCAA tournament. Hopefully we can get you guys over to hump a big win. I'm going to be there again next weekend supporting you guys, and we're excited for that. What do you guys have to do to get by Plymouth State next week?
I think it's, what we've been saying is we certainly do our work. We've got our scouting reports on the teams coming in, but our message has been it should always be about us. It's how we play. And if we can play what we call a 90% rule, if we can do what we're supposed to do 90% of the time, we're going to be fine. And those 10% of the time we make mistakes, we got to work our tails off to recover and be humble and have great attitudes and have good bench culture and, those types of things that we're trying to create on a young team. So, I think the biggest thing I'll say is we've had certain lines step up in certain games. If we can get a couple lines that contribute, just a couple, I think we'll be successful. So we got to stop leaning on a certain line here and there and come together as a group and produce. So we are leaning on a little bit of the depth in our lineup to come through for a goal here and there. And I think we've got a group that'll respond to that little bit of pressure we're giving them.
Well, Coach, you've always been good to me coming on. I appreciate you taking time this morning. I love having you on, and we're behind you. I can't wait to come next weekend and cheer you guys on.
Yeah, it's I mean, the seating looks great already. I think the lower bowl sold out, and you guys know this is going to be just a hot ticket in town, and really looking forward to making this an uncomfortable place for Plymouth.
Well, best of luck, Coach. We'll see you next weekend.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right, man. Thanks, Coach.
All right, bye-bye.
Statman, I know I was asking you before, but if you haven't been to one of those UC games, that odd was absolutely rocking 2 weeks ago, and I'm sure that odd's going to be rocking again next week. And we've had Coach Heenan on now. I mean, we were on the radio 8 years, and he's always come on with us. He's always good radio to talk to. So I want to make sure that I thank Coach for taking the time. As you could see, he was just getting a workout in. That's the fun thing about doing these podcasts is you can get moments like that, which I think is really special to capture whether coaches, players, whoever, that you can do that now with this whole remote podcast thing going on. So I don't know if I lost a stat man or if he's on break over there, but I want to make sure I thank Coach Snyder for taking the time as he was on the bus ride to play Chenango Forks. I want to thank Coach Hayduk, Mike, for coming on here this morning. I had a little bit of technical difficulties, but I was glad to see the coach stayed on, and the stat man did as well. So thanks to him. I'm going to try to bring him back and do the March Madness show that we do every year on the Rock Pile. And then I want to thank Coach Gary Heenan for jumping on with me here this morning, taking a few minutes out of his day as they get set to play Plymouth State next week in the NCAA tournament. It's the quarterfinal game. As you heard him say, the lower bowl is already sold out. So that means tickets are going fast. So make sure you get online and get your tickets to the odd next week as Utica University will play Plymouth State. So on behalf of myself, Coach Pags, Coach Medicis, and the Statman, and myself, thanks for tuning in this morning to the Mohawk Valley Sportswatch podcast. We'll see you again next week. Have a good weekend, everybody.